Inshallah, brothers and sisters, for the khatira for tonight, I wanted to do a review of what we talked about last week, and then say a few things in addition to what we talked about last week. There's a couple of things that I wanted to add to that. For those of you who were here last week, hopefully you'll remember. For those who were not here last week, we talked about a very important topic, which is basically how to tell the 5 daily prayer times without having access to a prayer chart, without having access to a calculated prayer chart, how to tell whether Fajr has come in, whether Fajr has ended, whether Dhuhr has come in, whether Dhuhr has ended, and so on and so forth with the rest of the 5 daily salawat. And so, let's do a quick recap, inshallah. We said that Fajr ends. How do we know that Fajr has ended? How do we know that Fajr has ended? When the sun rises from the eastern horizon. The moment you see the disk of the sun itself, not sunlight, not talking about sunlight, the sun itself. The moment you see the disk of the sun appear from the eastern horizon, that is a sign that Fajr has ended. Okay, now Fajr has become qada. All right? That's when Fajr ends. When does Dhuhr begin? Dhuhr begins when the sun crosses its zenith in the sky. The highest point in the sky. When it crosses that, the moment it crosses that, Dhuhr begins. And then Dhuhr ends when Asr begins. Dhuhr ends when Asr begins. So when does Dhuhr end and when does Asr begin? We said that there are 2 opinions on this issue. The opinion of the majority of the scholars, the Maliki school, the Shafi'i school, the Hanbali school, and the 2 famous students of Imam Abu Hanifa, namely Qadi Abu Yusuf and Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. Their opinion is that Dhuhr ends and Asr begins when the object, any object on earth, casts a shadow that is equal to its length. So a 5-foot long object, once it casts a shadow that is 5 foot long, then Dhuhr ends and Asr begins. Which basically means that the sun would have traveled about halfway down from the top of the sky, from its zenith in the sky, about halfway, exactly halfway down. Okay, because the shadow will then become equal to the length of the object. That's when Dhuhr ends and Asr begins, according to the majority. The view of Imam Abu Hanifa is different. Imam Abu Hanifa said that no, that's still time for Dhuhr. Asr has not begun yet. You have to wait longer for Asr to begin and Dhuhr to end. You wait until the shadow becomes twice the length of the object. So for a 5-foot long object, the shadow must be at least 10 feet long for Dhuhr to end and Asr to begin. Okay? So that's the view of Imam Abu Hanifa. Then when does Asr end? Asr ends when Maghrib begins. And Asr ends and Maghrib begins when the sun has set below the horizon, when it has completely disappeared below the western horizon. That's when Maghrib begins and Asr ends. And then when does Isha begin? Isha begins when Maghrib ends. Isha begins when Maghrib ends. So when does Maghrib end and when does Isha begin? We said that there are also 2 opinions about this. The opinion of the majority of the scholars, i.e. the Maliki school, the Shafi'i school, the Hanbali school, Qadi Abu Yusuf and Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, their view. And then you have the view of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah ta'ala on the other hand. The view of the majority of the scholars is that Isha begins, right? Isha begins and Maghrib ends when the red glow disappears completely from the western horizon. When the red glow disappears completely from the western horizon. There's still white left. There's still some white glow, but the red glow has completely disappeared, and the rest of the sky is dark. That's the end of Maghrib and the beginning of Isha according to the majority. But the view of Imam Abu Hanifa is no, that's still too early, you wait longer. Just like he waits longer for Asr to begin, he waits longer for Isha to begin also. So when does Isha begin for him? When that whiteness also disappears, when the white glow also disappears, when the sky is completely dark, that is when Isha begins and Maghrib ends according to Imam Abu Hanifa. And then when does Isha end? Isha ends when Fajr begins. So when does Fajr begin and when does Isha end? Fajr begins with the break of dawn from the eastern horizon. The first break of light from the eastern horizon that breaks laterally, that breaks across the eastern horizon, and then slowly, slowly it begins to expand, 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 until about 90 minutes later, the sun rises from the eastern horizon, and that's the end of Fajr time. So we talked about all of this last week. And then I showed you something something like this. You guys see anything on the wall? Yeah? So this is actually an app that I downloaded after last week, and it's called Day and Time or something like that. And this is showing right now. Okay, so this is what you see in the airplanes, you know, on the screens. This is similar. You see a similar map in the planes, and you see here everything that's dark is nighttime, and everything that's day is daytime. Okay, and this little thing right here allows me to change things. So I can, if I play with this, if I move forward, you'll see how the curve begins to move. So the night will progress, 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 until this is us right here. This is us right here. So if I keep moving forward, 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 there will come a time when we will have the middle of the night right here in Plano, Texas, which is going to be around 12:58 a.m. Okay? And then I keep moving, and then it'll reach closer and closer to break of dawn, okay? But right now, this is the case, okay? So if we go, let's say, a little bit backwards, let's say if we go something like this. So what time was the Dhuhr today? Does anybody know what time was the Dhuhr today according to our... 1:20? Exactly 1:20? Does anybody know? Can somebody look on our app? What time does it say for Dhuhr? Huh? 1:24. Okay. So 1:24. Right here. You see how our location is right in the middle of this daytime area? Because that's what I said, that Dhuhr is when the sun is on top and it's just about to, just moved a little bit towards the west. Okay? So, you move forward and we're going to start moving closer and closer to this side, right? So I'm going to play with this a little bit. Let's say put it on a completely different day and a completely different time here. Now, look at India. Has Dhuhr come in yet in India? Has Dhuhr come in yet in India? Or it hasn't come in yet in India? It's past Dhuhr or before Dhuhr? Past Dhuhr, that's correct. What about in Canada? Is it past Dhuhr or before Dhuhr? Before Dhuhr, right? Before Dhuhr. Okay, let's change to a different random day. And let's go over here. Is it Fajr yet in Plano? No. It's not Fajr yet in Plano. Is it Isha time in Plano? Yes, it's Isha time in Plano. All right. If I move it like this, has Fajr ended in Plano? Has Dhuhr begun in Plano? No, Dhuhr has not begun in Plano. Okay. Now has Dhuhr begun in Plano? Yes. So now in Plano, we are in Dhuhr time. Okay? Is it Maghrib yet in Plano? Not yet. Getting close to Maghrib, right? But not yet. So Maghrib will take place when we are in the dark. That's Maghrib. Okay? And Isha will come in somewhere around like over here. Okay? In fact, we can check it. Let's check it. What time was Isha today according to our prayer chart? 8 what? 8:39 or 8:40, right? So that's Isha. Okay? So you have to be pretty much like into the dark area for Isha to begin. All right? When does Fajr begin tomorrow? Okay, so tomorrow, 5, what is it, 52? 5:54. That's Fajr in Plano, you see? So we still have a ways to go until we get to the bright area, right? So that, if you get familiar with this, it becomes very easy, much easier to tell prayer times when you're in the plane, okay? It's very easy to tell whether Maghrib has come in or not, because you just have to look outside the window and see if the sun has set or not. So Isha, same thing. If you see any light in the western horizon, it's still time for Maghrib, otherwise Isha has come in. And then for Fajr also, it's very easy. You just look outside. If you see any light outside in the eastern horizon, that means Fajr has come in. If you don't see any light, that means Fajr hasn't come in, right? And then for Dhuhr and Asr, this map is very helpful. But even without this map, Dhuhr and Asr, you can tell, especially if you're going to combine Dhuhr and Asr, all you have to do is look at the sun. If the sun is closer to the western horizon, then that means it's time for Dhuhr and Asr. Okay? So that makes it very straightforward. By the way, if I go here to preferences and I show the sun, so this is the sun's position right here. And then as I move this, the sun is going to move like this. So you see how the sun is not exactly above us, it's to the south of us. So that's what I was saying last time, that the sun rises in the southeast and sets in the southwest, okay? And if I change this to different times of the year, it'll go up as high as this and then as low as this. So the sun always rises in the southeast and sets in the southwest. That's useful when you're trying to calculate the qibla without having access to a working compass, okay? You can simply tell the qibla if it's daytime by looking at the shadows, okay? Because the qibla is roughly to the northeast of us from anywhere in the United States, and the sun is going to be rising in the southeast and roughly, and then as it comes further and further up, it's going to be right above us a little bit to the south, and then it's going to start setting towards the southwest. So hopefully this helps. Some people said last time that there is an app or a website that is also very helpful for those who are traveling. It's called halaltrip.com, a halal trip app. If you look at that app or website, you can actually put in your itinerary, like your departure time, your arrival time, your destination, your point of origin, and it'll use your flight information to calculate the prayer times along the trip. So that's very helpful, halaltrip.com. However, I think having this knowledge is still very useful, because there might be times when that website doesn't work, whether your flight might have changed at the last moment, the flight trajectory might change because of weather conditions. So try not to use that as a crutch. Try to get used to, telling time of the prayers by looking at the movement of the sun, because it's very simple and it's something that works anywhere you are. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to keep this deen very simple for us. The other issue that I wanted to talk about is something that I'll start talking about today, or maybe actually I'll wait until next week. Let me mention something else, and then next week we'll have the final part for this, inshallah. One more thing that I want to mention. Let's say that you are, let's say you are in the plane and you are somewhere like over here, okay? So you are flying right above Plano. Is it Fajr yet? Can you tell if it's Fajr yet? From this map, can you tell? No, you can't tell, right? Let's say you try to look outside, but you are flying back to Plano from Pakistan or India or wherever, flying back to Plano, and you're in the sky still, and you're seated on the right side of the plane. You're seated on the right side of the plane. So you won't be able to see the eastern horizon, because that's on the left side of the plane. And let's say that you try to go and see from the left side of the plane, but everybody's windows are shut, everybody's sleeping, you can't disturb anybody to open the window, you cannot see outside. So you're not sure whether Fajr has come in or not. Should you pray Fajr? Just out of precaution? No. You cannot pray any prayer before its time comes in. The only exception is Asr and Isha when you combine. When you combine Isha with Dhuhr, you can pray it before its time, and when you combine, what did I say? When you combine Dhuhr with Asr, you can pray Asr before its time, and when you combine Maghrib with Isha, you can pray Isha before its time. But other than that, you can never pray Fajr, Dhuhr, and Maghrib before their time. Never, ever, ever can you pray Fajr, Dhuhr, and Maghrib before their time. You cannot. So you have to wait until you are pretty sure that Fajr has come in. You have to wait until you're pretty sure when Fajr has come in. So, for example, you wait until it gets to like, okay, now you're pretty sure that Fajr has come in, right? Now you're even more sure that Fajr has come in. Now you're really sure because you should be able to actually see a lot of light in the sky. All right? So now for sure you can go ahead and pray Fajr. All right? So the rule of the thumb is that if you are not sure that prayer time has come in, you wait until you are sure that prayer time has come in. It's okay, quote unquote, it is okay to pray too late, but it is never okay to pray too early. Do you understand? You can pray too late, it's called qada, and you may or may not be excused for praying late. You may or may not be excused for praying late. But you will never be excused for praying too early. And if you learn that you have prayed too early, you have to do what? You have to repeat your prayer. Okay? Wallahu ta'ala a'lam wa sallallahu wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum.